8, 7, 6, 5.
Get out! Get out of there! Get out!
Enough of this. Vader, release him.
As you wish.
Is enough. Here at Pending Rebrand, we do a countdown. We don't go with 10. We don't go with 5. We could go 7, but 8. 8 seems right. 8 seems like enough. And today we're counting down our favorite or best traditions for the Thanksgiving holiday. For those of you who don't celebrate, that is a day in which Americans celebrate overeating. And we do it in grand style with a huge New York parade and all sorts of things. Gentlemen, I don't need to get into this too far. I know we have fans across the seas. Hopefully y'all are familiar enough, I would think, with Thanksgiving here in the States. But it's on a Thursday, which is the perfect day to set something because then you can go back to work the next day or have to take a vacation day to recover from the copious amounts of calories. I want to start this week off with our good friend Furt Derby, aka Gold Rush, aka Jedi Master Silly Maz. This is our top 8 traditions for Thanksgiving. Go ahead, take us away, Furt, with your number 8.
Number 8, the countdown begins with, obviously, NFL football, specifically the Dallas Cowboys, who I spend every year rooting against. My favorite teams in the NFL are the 49ers and anybody playing the Cowboys. And the Turkey Day 1993 edition really stands out for me because that was the infamous Leon Lett fumble, or rather misplay of the ball. For those of you who weren't around or weren't paying attention back then, almost 30 plus years ago and more, the Cowboys and the Dolphins met on Thanksgiving Day. The Cowboys were 7-3. The Dolphins were 8-2. Dan Marino, Troy Aikman, Emmitt Smith. It was snow in Texas Stadium on the ground. It was a tightly contested game into the fourth quarter. The game ended with Dallas blocking a Miami field goal, which would have given them the victory. And Leon Lett, the Dallas Cowboy player, attempted to pick up the ball in the snow and mishandled it and allowed Miami to recover the ball on the Dallas Cowboy 1-yard line, at which point they went ahead and re-kicked the field goal, and they actually won the game 16-14 after trailing 14-13 had Leon Lett just let the ball sit there and the referees blow the whistle. It's an infamous play. You can find it on YouTube and all sorts of other shorts. A lot of analysis since then. He sheepishly admitted, I probably should have just left things alone. But it will always stand out to me, sitting there, getting ready for dinner and having the Dallas Cowboys snatch defeat from the jaws of victory on Thanksgiving Day. They would go on to win the Super Bowl that year, so I guess it doesn't matter how you start, but how you finish. But yes, Turkey Day 93, NFL football in general would be my number 8.
That's awesome.
Yeah, I'm treating this 8 is enough as memories and traditions, so I'm going to kind of go both. This obviously aligns here with Aaron that we would play hutch football and have our own little turkey bowls every Thanksgiving. Well, one year it got a little interesting. It was me, Aaron, his brother, the Scott God, Chris Beck, Keith Romer. We all showed up. My brother was there, my brother Brian, and out of nowhere, one of my cousins shows up, and he was a former semi-pro football player. And then Keith's brother shows up with 4 of his buddies who were offensive linemen playing in college. So we're just kind of throwing the football around, and this group of guys pull up, college guys, and they're like, hey, you want to play some football against us? It was like this moment where all the planets aligned because there were enough guys out there that we had an offensive line. We had 2 running backs. We had tight end, wide receivers, and my cousin, again, who was a semi-pro football player, was playing running back. I was playing quarterback, and these guys showed up. They thought they were going to beat us. Again, little did they know, we had college offensive linemen there because we were hiking the football. I mean, this was an all-out real game, tackling each other, and we just whooped the ever-living bejesus out of these guys playing at Abraham Lincoln Elementary School on Thanksgiving Day, it is I share this memory with my students the other day. It is something I still can see. One play where we faked a pitch and handed it off, and Keith was playing fullback and just leveled one of these guys as my cousin was following right behind him to score a touchdown. I mean, it was an amazing day of football. But and then we had other days where it was just 6 of us playing 3-on-3 with the hutch football. But that day shall live in infamy with the ultimate Thanksgiving Turkey Day Bowl that we played.
Wow, nothing like a backyard football Super Bowl against just some randos that show up. That's cool. I will say I feel like I was always too young to get into that, and then by the time I was old enough, we didn't have enough male cousins that would show up. Well, actually, I wish that there were only 5 of us cousins, and 2 of us were male. And the other 3 did not care for football like we did. So we were always in a place where we were never able to do that. But I love tossing around some backyard football. So my number 8 is sitting at the kids' table. I'm going to be honest. I always liked sitting at the kids' table. That was the fun table. Like, depending on where we were doing Thanksgiving, normally in my memory, it was at my aunt and uncle's house, kind of out in the country. They had like the big dining room, like formal dining room. So they had a kids' table in their sort of eat-in area of their kitchen where, we would sit and we'd play games while they made food or whatever. And it'll show up again later on my list. But sitting at the kids' table during actual dinner was always fun because that was a time where all of us got to sit around and just BS, talk kid stuff. And we would joke, we'd tell stories, we'd like reenact our favorite SNL moments, which of course was the era of Chris Farley, and I was chubby, so like I was always doing like Matt Foley, and it was a good time. I have a lot of really good memories of sitting at the kids' table. Plus, we were right next to the food, so when dessert came around, boom, you were first in line. Although granted, we always had to wait last to get our plates because we were the kids, and the people who cooked got to go first, and then the adults and the old people. So, but yeah, I was really had a good time at the kids' table. I know it gets maligned, but kids' table, a lot of fun.
Indeed. Number 7, orange cranberry muffins for Thanksgiving breakfast. This is a more recent tradition born out of a memory I had when I was a young boy in San Francisco. Back when parents and other kids could bring baked goods to school functions, there was a Thanksgiving in the late 1970s, 78, 79 maybe, where one of my classmates' moms brought in cranberry orange muffins. And I just remember the tartness, the sweetness. And, for many years, I had looked back on that as a treasured memory. And then I recently discovered that Panera Bread had orange cranberry muffins on sale, as well as your Targets and Walmarts. So every Thanksgiving now in the morning, I try to pick up a pair of those, throw them in the microwave for 15 seconds, a little butter, and you're in really good shape there. So orange cranberry muffins for Thanksgiving breakfast before the big meal. It's just enough to get you your appetite whetted.
Love it.
For my number 7, every year, it started back in the early 90s, is Thanksgiving Turkey Day for MST3K. Well, it started on Comedy Central. Now you can just find it all on YouTube. But for me, even to now, like I used to put in the tapes, and I would watch the tapes all day long. I actually went to Aaron's house a few times to do that. And then I started doing that on my own. I bought the DVDs, and I would put those on as I was making Thanksgiving meals or getting ready for Thanksgiving. Now I just turn it on on YouTube and just let it play all day long. There is nothing like Turkey Day with MST3K.
Love it. Love me some Mystery Science Theater. Manos in the Hands of Fate. Oh, so good. So good. My number 7, connected to my number 8, at the kids' table, ahead of any of the food when we were having those snackies. Never got the orange cranberry muffins, but typically there was like, some kind of a baked good or something that we were able to munch on because kids are always hungry. Doritos, probably 90s, were the epic games of Monopoly we would play. Now, we would play board games basically from whenever we got there in the morning until mealtime. And mealtime was probably around 3. So like the football game would be on in the living room, we'd be at the kids table, and I think we had Nickelodeon probably on like the little CRT TV they had on the counter. Um, and we would play Risk, we'd play 13 Dead End Drive, Rock Jocks, all sorts of board games, but Monopoly became like the game. And we would play, and it was so popular amongst us kids that my aunts would come and play with us. And we would have, everybody maligns Monopoly for taking so long, but we would get really into it. And it would take probably an hour, probably wasn't as long as it seems. But we would get like, there'd be backhand deals. There'd be like, all right, you can't pay your rent, so how about this? You trade me this property. People would be mortgaging stuff. And I mean, it just got to be this epic level of competition that we ended up stopping. Like, we wouldn't play it at other times of the year, except for Thanksgiving and Christmas, because that's when there was a kids' table. And we would just play the ever-loving crap out of that. And it's why I love Monopoly to this day. It's one of my favorite board games. And I remember just getting down a system, and it was always buy the cheap properties, get hotels on them as fast as possible, because those are the ones you don't, like Baltic, nobody ever lands on. But 3 or 4 circles into the game, when folks are thinking, I've got Atlantic, and I've got this, and I've got that, and then boom, they land on your hotel, cheapy properties, and they'd have to mortgage everything. And then you just start buying up their mortgage properties out from under them. If you don't pay your taxes for several years, they're going to come and snatch it from you. And whew, I was a cutthroat, and I had so much fun. So Monopoly at the kids' table on Thanksgiving, it hits right here. I want to play it right now. That's how passionate I am about that.
Little side note, one of my college summers, we were so into Monopoly, and I was we were playing Monopoly every night, kind of like, or over a couple of days, like what you're talking about. And I was losing. I was getting so mad. I went to the library. Now, this is before the internets, everyone, not even the AOLs, and the Adobes. And so I went and I checked out 5 books. People were writing books about how to win Monopoly games, and I read those things from cover to cover. And I took the strategies, and I started winning every time we played. So that's how competitive I am, and that's how bad I wanted to learn about that game and win, because I was losing all the time. But it aligns with your strategy. I mean, that was one of the biggest things, was you buy properties as soon as you could. You got those houses up, and especially the cheaper areas are landed on the most, I guess. And so that's where I would start building my hotels too, and I would just start winning. So yeah, I love that.
Awesome.
So good one. Anyway, it's over to you there. Is it up to Aaron now?
Yeah, it's
Thank
Fruit
you, Aaron.
Derby. Aaron's turn.
Hey guys, can you hear me?
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, no, I'm at 80%. I don't know if you've noticed. I'm out right now. Just keep going with number 6, and I should be done in like 5. By the time you're done with 6, I should be back on. Keep going.
Oh, I show you still in the room.
Yeah,
These
you're
are
live.
the technical difficulties that plague
Yes.
us.
So go with
Yeah,
your
it says here my recording stopped and I'm uploading. So just go with 6.
Okay. All
Go
right.
with
Well,
6.
we'll just keep rolling. That's fine. Well, let's just spin the circle. I'll jump to 6. My number 6 is an easy one. Pumpkin pie. My favorite Thanksgiving pie. It's not my favorite pie, but it's my favorite Thanksgiving pie. And I think I've eaten every brand, every type, homemade, Amish, Perkins. I will seek out a different style of pumpkin pie just because it's so nostalgic for me. What I will say is you have to be careful with how you preserve it to the next day leftovers, because one year, this sticks out in my memory so bad because I wanted that last piece of pie. Oh, did I want it. And I don't know if it was the saran wrap or the fact that it was kept in the foil container, but when I ate, I asked for it after eating lunch. I took one bite and it tasted really bad. Like it was, um, I don't know how to describe it. Like you lick the inside of an aluminum can of green beans and you get that like BPA flavor. Um, and I took one bite and I'm like, I'm full. And my aunt got mad at me and was like, you just asked for that. You're not full. And I said, it tastes bad. Like I don't want to eat it. And it was just me trying to be polite. But it was frustrating, of course, because now being a parent and an adult, I'm like, why did you ask for it if you're not hungry? And it's like, oh, okay, it tastes bad. Like, all right, fair enough.
By the way, there's nothing like a Perkins breakfast. Let me just say that. Having lived in Wisconsin for 6 months. My number 6 is putting up the Christmas tree, and at my house or at the Campbell's house, because they were two completely different experiences. At my house, we were just throwing the lights on the tree, getting some ornaments up there. And something we like to do, playing Christmas music. It was great. But going to the Campbell's house and doing it was a whole next level. We get the tree, we bring it inside, we put it in the stand, and every single branch had to have lights on it. And we were taking twist ties to put the lights, like make sure they were staying on the branches. I mean, it was a process that took hours, and you could not leave that house until that tree was decorated, or Mrs. Campbell was just all over you like whipped cream on pumpkin pie. And so I was there the entire time. I did it a couple of years. The cats are trying to get in the tree. There's all this stuff going on. There's music playing. Doug is doing his thing. Alex trying to, get his sports stuff going. I mean, it was just all this stuff going on, but I loved it. I absolutely loved it. So, Christmas tree, putting it up Thanksgiving Day or the day after. Ferd, are you back or you want us to keep going?
Yeah, upload. I'm done. Here I come.
All right. It's all you.
Hang on 1 second. No. Keep going. Riff. Be right there.
All right. Well,
So, fun fact here at Pending Rebrand is we record on an online platform that occasionally has some bizarre technical difficulties. I'm not going to edit this, by the way. This is just for Thanksgiving. Is there anything more nostalgic than like things somehow going awry? Like the turkey's a little overdone, or you burn the dinner rolls, or like I was thinking the Santa Claus movie where he's trying to make that whole like Thanksgiving-ish dinner, and it's just totally burnt and terrible. And that is our experience sometimes recording here as we run into these technical difficulties. It's like, what happened? So that's maybe my honorable mention for the 8 is enough. I know we don't do that because 8 is enough, but it's apropos. So, Fert, Aaron, let's hear your number 6.
Back. Number 6, big movies released Thanksgiving week. Although in the last couple of years, they're trying to get a head start and release it the weekend before Thanksgiving. But growing up, they used to save their big holiday films, big kick off the season, holiday themed or big sequels or big money makers for the Wednesday before Thanksgiving. We would get out of school, elementary school, middle school, junior high, high school, and you'd have these big splashy films. Inevitably, some of them would fall. I'm looking at you, Santa Claus, the movie with Dudley Moore and John Lithgow in 1985. But again, Bill Murray, Scrooged, Danny Glover, Predator 2, Sylvester Stallone, Rocky 5, Christopher Lloyd and Michael J. Fox, Back to the Future Part 2, Chevy Chase, National Lampoon's Christmas Vacation, Babe, Pig in the City 2, Bridget Jones, The Edge of Reason. These are all The Polar Express. These are all films that aired and came out in theaters right the day before Thanksgiving. Star Trek IV, The Voyage Home. Literally, that was my Thanksgiving movie. Got up from the dinner table, went to go see how on earth can they possibly save the future. So love the big studio films, even the turkeys. that would be released right there. This year we have Wicked and Gladiator 2 coming out the weekend before, and we have Moana 2 coming out on that Wednesday. So I always called it Thanksgiving Wednesday. Love the big studio kickoff to the Christmas films. At number 5, it was our Glenbard West High School basketball tournaments. For those of which I don't believe are in long-standing tradition, but only live on in the memories of those of us who participated and played in them, including Lord Uther here on all of his occasions. Basically, for the uninitiated, we would have a high school basketball invitational tournament. We would involve local and non-local area schools to participate, including some from the big bad city. And they would come in, and we would start playing on a Tuesday, I believe, of Thanksgiving week. We'd have 2 games after school, two contests, 5 o'clock and 7 o'clock, let's call it. And then on Wednesday, right leading up to on Hollywood Thanksgiving Wednesday, we'd have 2 more games. There'd be about 8 teams participating, as I remember. Then you'd have Thanksgiving, and you'd get fat and eat calories and watch football. Then you'd come back on Friday, Black Friday, the day after Thanksgiving, and you'd have 4 games. You'd have all the teams playing that day. You'd have games at like 9 a.m., maybe around lunchtime, then take a little break, and then come back for the evening sessions. And it was just a glorious all day of basketball, high school basketball. And then you'd finish up on Saturday. And on Saturday, the athletic director would just throw money at us. He'd just reach into his wallet or petty change and say, here, go get everybody Burger King, for those of people who worked there and so forth. The players would all eat a catered meal of sub sandwiches or cold cuts or something. And the support staff would get Burger King chicken parm, those Italian chicken parm sandwiches with the tomato sauce that seemingly pop up on the menu. Yes. It was 4 days of just, again, no school. Your tests are done. You had Thanksgiving and all of the festivities, but it was surrounded by this just amazing, just hanging out. And especially those last 2 days when it was just wall to wall. It was just, you start at 9 in the morning and you get home at 9 at night, and there it was. So Glenbard West Holiday Basketball Tournament, we miss you, but we will never forget.
Yeah, my number 5 is, I watch it every year, multiple times during Thanksgiving. It is a Gordon Ramsay YouTube video of him making a turkey. And let me tell you why I love watching it. First of all, that dude is so passionate about cooking. I absolutely love it. Next thing is, he helped me go from making dry turkeys to truly teaching me how to make a turkey that is flavorful. Well, you don't have to put gravy on it to make sure it's not dry. And I watch that thing every year because for some reason I'm just mesmerized by it. And that is how I make my turkeys now, is this exact way that Gordon Ramsay has done this on this video. And people love when I make turkey, and I attribute it all to that. So it's that Gordon Ramsay YouTube video of him making turkey.
Classic. All right, I'm gonna divulge some family secrets here. My number 5 is always trying to figure out who's gonna drink too much at Thanksgiving. Undoubtedly, every year somebody overindulged either on the Thanksgiving wine or the pre-gaming beers for the football game. And, it's never egregious. Nobody ever got into a car accident. Nobody ever got, mouthy. Well, okay. One year somebody got mouthy and upset, but that was teenage drama more than anything. Well, not teenage drama. They were of age, 21, but it was teenage drama. Let's be real. You're still a teenager. But it was always funny. Like, us kids at the kids' table, we'd always joke about, somebody's had a little too much wine, because somebody would fall asleep. Or usually it was somebody falling asleep, and we would just laugh and laugh and laugh, because they would it'd be one of these on the couch, and they go, and everybody else would be cheering on whoever's beating Dallas on the late game of Thanksgiving. And, it never failed. I mean, towards my late teen years and early 20s, like I remember it was always the same person, and you know, I don't want to speak ill of anyone, but that might have been an issue with learning how to handle one's alcohol. They were a young person. We all go through it. But it was always funny in my preteen and early teen years when it would be, you know, one of the older folks in the family or an aunt and uncle who just like, they were spending the nights, everybody was safe, you know, they were drinking responsibly, but they overindulged, and then they'd either get goofy or they'd fall. The falling asleep was really my favorite because, I mean, it'd be loud, people be cheering, we'd be playing games, Christmas music be blasting, like, and they'd just be over there just like, you know, and I don't know why, but that just like it was so pleasing. Um, Drink responsibly if you're going to drink this Thanksgiving, whether it's wine, beer, liquor, or if you're in a state where THC is legal. If you overindulge, please ensure that you're safe. Don't drive. You know, you're in the care of family. It's okay to fall asleep on the couch.
Number 4, stuffing. Doesn't matter if it's stovetop, cornbread, traditional sage, or with Italian sausage sliced in. It's one of my favorite side dishes on the plate. I might only have one serving of ham or turkey, but I'm definitely trying to go for seconds for stuffing. Gravy is optional, depends on how you like your seasoning. Pepper is a must. I like to heavily pepper that stuffing. It just tastes good. Some like potatoes, some like green bean casserole. Put me down for stuffing, any and all varieties. It's good year round. It especially is good on Thanksgiving, and it's especially good the day after when you've nuked it up with your leftovers plate. Tastes even better.
My number 4, even though is cooking for my in-laws. Every year we do a Thanksgiving the Friday after, so we go to my mom's on Thanksgiving Day, and then my in-laws come over the Friday after, and I truly enjoy cooking for them. Little fact here: I don't cook for my mom because I don't feel like I can cook as good as her, and she won't like it. So my in-laws love my cooking. That's something, and the one part I miss my father-in-law because he was like the 6'4", just gigantic of a man, and he would always say, "My son, I love your cooking. You did it again, my son." And he would just say that to me all the time. And deep down, I loved that he loved to sit there and just eat plate after plate of my cooking. And Thanksgiving was one of those days when he would do that. God rest his soul. But I love cooking for my in-laws on Thanksgiving.
That's awesome. I too enjoy cooking for folks on Thanksgiving. I don't often get the opportunity anymore. As a matter of fact, I haven't really had many opportunities, I suppose, but um, that's always special when somebody enjoys it. My number 4 is the great guessing game. Because I don't often get to cook the turkey, the times I do, always flawless, because I'm not going to accept any less. But I like to play the game of how dry is the turkey this year? Because most people I've had their turkey is terrible. And this stretches all the way back to when my grandma made Thanksgiving when I was really young. Um, God rest her soul. It was very well, the basting of the turkey was a big deal, and we all know that a basted turkey is a dry turkey. Um, it was a very much an old world version of cooking, and I think that carried over to my aunt's turkey. Don't get me wrong, it was good. I'm never going to say that Thanksgiving was bad. It was always good, but there was a very far range of dryness. And as a matter of fact, my cousin enjoys dry turkey. Doesn't like the dark meat because it's too wet. Wants it to be like eating sand. He likes it that dry. More power to him. And he does not like gravy, so he just likes eating dry food, I guess. So go figure. I don't know. I don't eat oatmeal without cooking it, but um, I know sometimes it comes off as maybe food snobbish, and I'm sure people get irritated by it. But I actually really enjoy the guessing game of whether or not I need to put ketchup or something on my turkey to make it edible. Um, so I don't get me wrong, it's never been bad. So family, friends who watch this who have eaten your turkey, it's never been bad. it's just always fun for me to figure out how dry this turkey is going to be.
Number 3 echoes Lord Uther. It was our touch football contest at Abraham Lincoln Elementary. I will just add the one year my brother had received a Deion Sanders 49ers jersey, which he chose to wear to one of these contests. And in a particularly heated exchange between cornerback and wide receiver, I don't even remember which one he was playing, the jersey ended up getting ripped. And a Deion Sanders 49ers jersey back in the 90s, it did cost a pretty penny. And I'm sure mom and dad were not happy that the sewing machine and red thread would have to be brought out to stitch it up. But that's how heated we got. Whether, there may have been snow on the ground, and oftentimes there was, or ice, dry, crackly snow from the Midwest. You know what I'm talking about, or slush in the streets, dirty slush from all the cars that ran over it. But we got heated up, and we played with passion. And that Nerf football or the Hutch football or whatever version we were using, it was fun. It was just a lot of, we weren't ever going to be playing on any given Sunday, but for those brief days there, it was great to toss the pigskin around and come back. No broken teeth, just a ripped jersey or two.
Those Chris Beck, Alec Campbell matchups are just
legendary.
Classic.
Yeah.
And just a quick tip for all you people that make turkeys out there: let your turkey rest for as long as you cook it. Trust me, let it rest for as long as you cook it. Anyway, my number 3. Yes, the Glenbard West Thanksgiving tournaments definitely resonated with me. And just as a quick side note to Furt Derby's stories there, one year, it was my senior year, we took on Proviso East, who was ranked number 1 in the state. They had 3 future NBA basketball players: Donnie Boyce, Sherelle Ford, Michael Finley. I had to guard Michael Finley. Now, back in the day, I was 5'11" and 3/4 allegedly. Michael Finley was 6'6". They win the tip. Michael Finley, from about 3 feet behind the three-point line, as my coach says, Coach Don McGee, pick him up at the three-point line. So I'm standing at the three-point line. What does Michael Finley do? He pulls up 3 feet behind the three-point line and gently banks a three-pointer in. And I'm like, uh-oh, this is going to get interesting. Next play down the floor, Sherelle Ford, who is just massive, gets the ball in the paint. Our friend Nate Frank, 6'11", Sherelle Ford, 6'10". Sherelle Ford takes a drop step, two-handed dunk right over Nate. And I love Nate. Furt loves Nate. Well, Nate goes to take the ball out of bounds, and he looks at me, and he goes, "Man, Kelly, this is going to be a long night." And inbounds the basketball, because only Nate Frank could say that. And we wind up getting destroyed by Proviso East. But, basketball literally changed my life. On my best day, I was an average player. On my best day, I was an average player. But, man, I love that game. And when Urza Master and I start that leadership series podcast that we're going to get going at some point, I just learned so much from that game. Absolutely loved those tournaments.
My number 3 is another sport, and that is the NFL on Thanksgiving. I love the NFL on Thanksgiving. I love the NFL always, but I loved watching Detroit play their Super Bowl, which was always on Thanksgiving because they always suck. They're good the last year and this year, but prior to that, they were the Thanksgiving Super Bowl players. They always play better on Thanksgiving. Usually it was at home for them. I always enjoyed watching Dallas lose, although when I was really young, they tended to win, which always irritated me. And on the off occasions that Green Bay got to play, that made Thanksgiving so incredibly special. Because I got to watch it with my whole family, which was uncommon. And I remember, the games we'd play against Detroit would be so much hard fought, like compared to the other Detroit games. And we'd lose a lot of those, but we would win big on Thanksgiving on very occasional moments. And it was just, there's nothing better than football, and football on Thanksgiving, on some of those big marquee matchup games. It's kind of like football on Christmas, honestly. Just it's just a whole new level, whole new level.
Number two, I said that stuffing belongs on any plate, especially mine. My favorite side dish is Mom's carrot casserole. Real quick, sliced carrots, Velveeta, onions, sprinkle over the top with breadcrumbs, and then just put it in a casserole dish and let it bake out. First night, it's warm and gooey. Again, carrots, Velveeta, and breadcrumbs in essence. And so it's kind of got a consistency. It's a little bit sort of soft. But then you let that gel and congeal overnight as a leftover. And you nuke that the next day with your stuffing and your leftover turkey and your cranberry sauce and all of that. It is one of the 9 wonders of the world, culinary wise. The simplest ingredients, the simplest prep, besides cutting your carrots. I mean, it's not brain food in terms of how to prepare it, but boy, does it satisfy the stomach. It sticks to the ribs. And yes, if I could just have a plate of carrot casserole with that Velveeta and the breadcrumbs and the carrots and a little bit of onion and a little bit of milk, wow, that is the favorite of all favorite Thanksgiving side dishes.
I love you, but good Lord. And it doesn't just stick to the ribs, it sticks to the arteries too, I'd have to think. But I guess don't knock it until you try it. I never had that Campbell delicacy. Maybe one day. My number 2, just getting a break from life with my family because we get the entire week off of school. Thanksgiving has quickly become my favorite holiday just because of having that time. And there's nothing like having that Thursday, Friday off and then having the weekend, so it kind of turns into a 4-day. And then who really works the Wednesday before? I mean, you kind of work. I don't care where you're at, you kind of work that day. So it kind of turns into like a 4.5-day weekend. So that's become just one of my favorite things about it.
My number 2 is going to be the leftovers. It's Thanksgiving tradition to do something with those leftovers beyond just reheating the individuals, whether it's the famous friend sandwich or some other inventive use of them. One year I invented a Thanksgiving burrito. I'm sure I didn't invent it, but it ended up being incredibly good. Unfortunately, after my gastric bypass, I don't think I'm going to be doing a whole lot of that because I can eat only a little kid's portion of Thanksgiving food, but memories.
And number 1 on Thanksgiving memories and traditions, again, echoing my good buddy, my lifelong friend, Lord Uther, it would be the Turkey Day Festival of Mystery Science Theater. In particular, let's give a shout out to 4 of our favorite episodes that we can rewatch year in and year out and still laugh at all the right parts. Cave Dwellers, The Rebel Set, Fugitive Alien, Ring of Terror, as Ursa pointed out, Manos Hands of Fate. It doesn't matter which one you watch. It doesn't matter if it's Joel or Mike. As long as you've got Tom Servo, Gypsy, and Crow on the Satellite of Love, it's going to make for it. You don't have to sit there and watch the whole movie. Watch 10 minutes of it, get some good guffaws. It helps work out your abdominal muscles there. But truly the most deranged puppet show since the Muppets. And for those of you that have never sampled Mystery Science Theater 3000, look for it. Look for the clips. Keep circulating the tapes and just watch. And it's gloriously silly and it just makes you smile. And I just love that they took the worst of the worst and gave a whole day to it on Turkey Day.
Join us, won't you? My number 1, walking into my mom's house, just smelling the food, Christmas music going. And I know I've talked so many times about my mom's cooking, and that's who taught me how to cook along with my grandmother. There's just nothing like walking into my mom's house, whether it's Thanksgiving Day or Christmas Eve, or probably any day of the year, quite frankly, and having my mom's cooking. It's absolutely lights out. Being there with family, it's what Thanksgiving's all about, man. Just being together and eating some gosh darn wonderful food.
I hate to end it on a sappy note. I want to do something funny, but I'm going to echo Lord Uther, and I know Aaron also touched on some of this theme, and it's the family aspect. Um, I've had many different iterations of Thanksgiving with family over the years, from extended family to the big gatherings at my grandma's house when I was a kid, to big gatherings, my whole family at my aunt's house, to splitting of families and grandkids get older, everybody has their own families, having my own Thanksgiving at my own house for the first time, at three different houses now. um, and then, kind of having the multiple Thanksgivings that you have to have when everybody's lives get complicated. Uh, I wouldn't trade any of it. I will say my favorites were always when all of the family was together when I was a kid. It rings different, but I also find that the adult Thanksgivings now with my kids mean just as much. Even if they're not always the same, even if they're not always tradition or doing the things we have to do every year, like I don't need that necessarily. I get enough gratification of just seeing my kids with their great grandma. They only have one left, um, and they get a lot of time on that holiday, seeing them with my wife's cousins and their kids, and nieces and nephews, and I never thought I'd have that perspective on life. I always thought it was, how am I enjoying the food, the holiday? But living vicariously is something that is stupendous. That being said, I don't take away from anybody's Thanksgiving experience because all of them are awesome. There is nothing bad about a day of overeating, watching football, having some beers if you indulge, or just relaxing. Even if you're just relaxing at home by yourself with a Hungry Man turkey dinner. We are not sponsored by Hungry Man, but we could be. Let's just say that that experience is enough, as 8 is enough, and we have reached 8, and it is enough. And you've probably had enough of us. Now go have a great Thanksgiving from all of us at Pending Rebrand, and we'll catch you at the next holiday.